And we're live. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, Sensei?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Yourself, Michael?
I'm very well. Shukran, Sensei. It's lovely to be here. It's lovely to be in Cape Town. Lovely to record the first podcast here in Cape Town at Karate Zen Hombu Dojo. And we're very honored to have you as a guest on the podcast. Just first off, about who you are. You've been very active in the refereeing scene on local and international level.
Yeah, it's lovely to be on your podcast, Michael. It's always good to have you in Cape Town, your second home.
Our first home.
First home. Yeah, look, after I retired as a competitor, I needed to decide which portfolio I'd like to fulfill in karate. My father kind of guided me into the refereeing portfolio because he felt that it would be your selection as a referee would be based on your ability, whereas coaching would be more a political position because
Definitely.
you know it's sometimes a struggle. Even though you might be one of the best coaches, you might not generally get the job because for political reasons. I was fortunate enough to, at a young age, pass my WKF Referee A's qualification for Kata and Kumite. I moved on rapidly to become one of the All Africa UFAC Continental Referee Commission.
And which year was that, Sensei? That you became part of the commission?
I speak under correction, but it's somewhere around 2015.
Okay,
2015 in Cameroon. In
Cameroon was 17.
Was it 17?
Yeah. African Games in Brazzaville was 15.
Okay, it was at the Cameroon Championships in Yaoundé.
Okay.
I was actually appointed on the referee commission in Yaoundé, so it was 2017. And then very shortly after that, I was appointed the chief referee for the region or for Zone 6.
Okay.
And shortly after that, I was appointed the chairman of the referee commission for UFAC, and subsequently to that appointment, appointed on the World Referee Commission.
Okay, excellent. And what is your current involvement in refereeing from local right through to international? Where do you stand?
Well, currently I'm still serving on the UFAC All Africa Referees Commission, and I'm currently still the chairman of the referee commission for the SADC countries, which is I think it's the 10 most southern countries in Africa.
So they don't separate it into regions like the championships?
No, they don't. They don't.
Okay.
So each national federation has its own championships.
Yes.
But collectively we make up it's called now the southern region.
The southern region.
Yeah, because UFAC has been divided into, I think, 5 regions: north, south, east, west, and central region.
Interesting.
So I think those are 5 regions that UFAC has now been restructured into, and we fall under the southern region.
Okay.
So I'm still a normal referee at the national level. I'm the one that conducts the examinations at a regional level and for the Africa level.
Okay, so what do you feel, because now that you've seen the level of refereeing up until international level, what do you feel about the level of refereeing locally as opposed to internationally, and do you think that affects us as competitors?
Well, of course, it definitely does. The higher quality of refereeing, then a more true reflection of the actual winner would come to light. We are still very far behind in terms of our level of refereeing, and I can pin it onto a couple of things. Firstly, the seriousness of the officials.
Yes.
The separation from club to being a professional when seated on the floor, the dynamic of having to support certain people because you belong to the same association as them.
Yes.
The lack of floor time for the local judges.
Okay.
The lack of seminars, practical seminars that's conducted on a regional, provincial and national level. So we are way behind. We are way behind, and it's to the detriment of the competitor. Definitely.
Okay. So what do you think we need to do? Because it sounds like, well, I believe at least, that refereeing is one of the support structures, one of the stepping stones that allows us as athletes to get to where we want to go, because it allows us to get a fair shake. What do you think needs to happen in order for our referees to get on the same level as other countries, so that they can get a fair shake and we can start seeing better results on UFAC and WKF level?
Okay, well, firstly, Michael, being a seasoned competitor as yourself, traveling to these various Premier Leagues and international championships, it gives you a certain set of skills that the other competitors in our country don't have. Similarly, a coach should be coaching on that level with an athlete like you. And similarly, the referee should be going on those type of competitions regularly to surround themselves with people of that level, in order to understand where they need to lift their game.
Yes, of course.
If they are familiar with these local championships, which are miles in terms of expertise and quality and just all around professionalism of the Premier League, it's an entire different planet for our referees. If they come there and try and officiate on that level, they will be totally out of sort. But throw a fish in a pond, he will swim. Throw a fish in the ocean, he will swim. I think our referees just need to be granted that opportunity to go on a regular basis to officiate and gain that experience and gain that confidence.
Yes.
And then bring that confidence and experience back home to improve the level of the referees back home. Currently, we are only maybe 3 or 4 referees that officiate on a continental level.
Okay.
And last year, I was maybe one of 2 referees that officiated at more than 1 Premier League. So that speaks volumes. I was the only one traveling maybe 3 or 4 Premier Leagues last year, and in a country as big as ours with so many talented athletes, it's a total injustice to them.
Do you feel like the referees not being present at those type of competitions has somewhat of a dual effect? And by that I mean there's an element of referees are not exposed to a very high level, and therefore they are unable to grow. And then secondly, they're not able to talk to people, and they're not able to have a political influence over the referees on a WKF level, which means that it's very easy for athletes from South Africa to be ignored.
Well, if you bring in the human factor, I think it definitely has an influence. I can't say with concrete evidence it does.
Okay.
But if we look at the countries that are doing well,
yes,
and you see the support structure that they have at those Premier Leagues,
yes,
everything points to exactly what you've just said.
Yes.
They've got a big contingency of athletes. They've got a big contingency of coaches. They have a huge contingency of referees. And it seems to bring the success. So if any one of those components is missing, then I think the result definitely will be affected. If we use the example that I've just made, then of course we can see how the results are affected. And with us only having 1 or 2 voices, I think it definitely shows in the results of our competitor.
Yeah, for sure. So some people might know this and some people might not, but you were actually part of the national team in what was named by Hanshi Peter, who I trust his opinion very much, as the golden era for South Africa. And I just wanted to know, what do you think is the difference between the current national team, or some of the differences that you can think of between the current national team and what happened in that era, 2004 to 2008, I think is around about the right period?
Yeah. Look, I can say to you that majority of the team came from one province.
Okay.
And I think the
Was
team
that from Western Cape?
from Western Cape.
Okay.
And I think the team cohesion, because we came from one province, was a lot better.
Yes.
And because of the reason just mentioned, we trained together more often
Okay.
under the guidance of the coach.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. He was also from Western Cape.
who was also from Western Cape. And what we did quite often is that we would have sessions in this dojo, in Hanji Peter's dojo, in anybody's dojo who would afford us the space to train. And we would have our chief referee, who back in the day was my dad. He would come into a session. Our head coach, Hanji Peter, would call him and say, please arrange 5 referees to come in.
Yes.
We would have mini tournaments amongst one another under the eye of the coach. He would try and prepare us and place us for team kumite, which does not happen today. He would have us fighting in open competitions, in open weight categories, just to see whether our under 60 player could fight against an over 84 player or plus 84, to try and see who was the best match.
Because it doesn't always translate.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You can't just select a team and expect the guy to fight, and if he's never fought a guy over 84 or plus 80 and being under 60, it's a new experience, and he's not trained to fight in that position.
Yes.
So I think Hanji Peter was a visionary, and he had a good support structure.
Yes.
I know much has been said about the structure, but politics aside, him as a coach did what he needed to do with the team to try and get the best results out of us. And I think, not to say that our coaches aren't motivated, but I don't think they have the freedom to do and select the team as he had.
Yes. So the coaches don't have as much decision power as they used to.
I think so. I absolutely. I know Hanji Peter used to select the team that he wanted.
Yes.
We were told after every championships and before every selection that we would have to prove ourselves at every championships, and we were told well in advance that, look, at this particular championships will be final team selection, so if you want to bring it and you want to be in this team, you have to perform come what may. You have to pull all the stops out.
Yes.
And you have to win.
Yes.
We also had prerequisites to be selected. For instance, it wasn't necessarily based on being the gold medalist at KSA.
Yeah.
We never had a ranking system, but we had to attend every nationals. We had to win every nationals, and once we've won, we had to win the Zone 6 male team kumite or female team kumite to be eligible to go to UFAC. And it made a huge difference in our mindset, because we knew, had we not won the SADC countries championships or the Zone 6, we won't be eligible to go to UFAC.
Yes.
And that was the driving force behind us, knowing that this is the hurdle we have to cross in order to go there. And that just brought us so much closer to our goal every single time. That's just in a nutshell. I can speak for hours on this, but our team was very tight, and we worked very hard together, and we at least twice a month we'd come together as a team, which obviously is not happening.
No, definitely not.
In today's day and age.
Definitely not. And when we do come together, we see that there's an elevation in level and spirits and interaction and all of these things.
Which of course is needed in if you look at any professional setup. The amount of time that team spends together
is very
with the
important.
coaching staff, with the support staff, with each other.
Yes.
They spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
And that's what creates the team ethos and the work ethic amongst one another, the understanding, knowing what you need from one another without having to say anything, which we had. And I think only because of that we were able to be I wouldn't say very successful, but more successful than most of the other South African national senior teams.
Okay. So on that point of team cohesion, do you think that the members of the senior national team currently treat each other differently than what they did when you were in the senior national team?
Look, most definitely. I am not surrounded by national players or amongst them when they are busy on national duty or at competitions. But the little time I do spend with them and surrounded by them in their team camp or during the stands, I can see there's a big difference in the team ethos and the way they treat one another.
Can you give me some examples, Sensei?
A classical example was that we were all teammates. There were no senseis in the team. Okay, so there was there was no, let's call it, superior player in terms of rank. We were all kumite fighters, kata competitors, and we were a team. So irrespective of your dan grading or your rank in your particular style, we all understood that we were one member in a collective team, rather than being a team, but there are 4 or 5, let's say, traditional 5th dans or 6th dans, and we all bow down to them. No. The authority was our coach and our president, and that was the authority. We were all team players.
That makes a lot of sense from a sporting point of view, because essentially when you're playing on WKF or UFAC level, it's a sport.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think people can't differentiate between the two at this point in time.
Yes.
I might be incorrect, but it's just my opinion.
Yes. So your training days and where and the stable that you came from, Karate Zen has a very rich history in terms of Karate South Africa and which athletes have come from here. So what was your process, and who are some of the guys that you were training with when you were trying to get into the national team, when you were somebody who was just a junior?
Okay, well, I can tell you it was never my ambition to be in the national team. I just trained karate because I wanted to know how to fight.
Okay.
And know how to defend myself.
Yes.
But when I was introduced to competition, an all-styles competition, it was in 1995. And I was a young kid, I think 13 years old or so. And once I bit that bullet, I just continued.
Yeah.
It hooked me, hook, line and sinker. One of my teammates that I trained with on a regular basis was Jeffrey Jackson, Desmond Nakay, my wife Llewellyn Rhoda.
Yes.
And those were basically the core people that I trained with. If I can take collectively from 1995 up until the time that we retired, those were the main people that we basically worked with. And of course my father was my coach, along with all the other people that I mentioned, and that's within our association. Of course we had all style coaches. The longest serving was Hanshi Peter.
Yes.
I also had the what's the word I'm looking for? I had the opportunity to work with Sensei Andre Kok from Pretoria. He's JKS instructor. I think Hachidan 8th Dan at one particular All Africa Games, and that was Nigeria. But yeah, everybody that we worked with were very dedicated, were good coaches. They all provided us with insight, and I took what was good like my other teammates, we took what we could use. We used it. That we had to discard, we discarded of it. Like any other sport, I guess. You would know. You train with many international coaches and with coaches all over South Africa. So wherever you can gain something, you can use it, and just to improve yourself.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that the people that you mentioned that were your training partners are all still involved, very involved, in KSA and competition karate today. So I think that speaks volumes, because there's people who I know of who were people who I looked up to that were in the senior team when I was a cadet or a junior, and they've essentially disappeared. So it's very interesting that all of your training partners, obviously you guys came from the similar stock and a similar mentality, and all of these things.
Well, I suppose you're absolutely right, and now that I've never thought of it in that way, but now that you're mentioning it, Michael, you can probably think that was probably one of the reasons why we were also a little bit more successful than others, because I think passion must have driven us, and like you say, we are still around, whereas many people that were around with us and after us have totally disappeared off the scene. I'm sure they've got valid reasons why they've decided to disappear, but what, part of what we are doing is to ensure that the next generation is there. And if you disappear, particularly from this facet of karate, you might not ensure that somebody else will have that same opportunity that you had. And I know for many people it has changed their lives, in terms of experience, in terms of their karate knowledge, in terms of their travel experience. Because it becomes a lifestyle, it becomes a way of life. Like the Budo karate, so does sport. It becomes a part of your life for a particular period, whether it's only as a competitor and then you give back as a referee or go into coaching, but it definitely becomes a way of life.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And maybe a little bit of a touchy subject here, but sticking on your colleagues that you trained with, I know that there's a lot of separation now in the Western Cape. I came from Gauteng originally. That is, I think by nature it's just very separate.
Segregated.
Yeah, it's just like that. But as a junior and a cadet looking into Cape Town, I always saw like almost as if it was one club. I couldn't tell the difference between if somebody was a Karate Zen or a Mario Burshitori person, or I don't even know if Satori existed when I was a cadet. Might have just started out. Didn't exist yet?
No.
Okay. So for me, like when I saw Western Cape, I saw one team. And maybe now it's because I'm closer to the fact, but I feel like things have moved a little bit apart. But certainly some objective things have changed, like we don't necessarily travel together anymore. Which I think has a big effect on the team. And I think that Western Cape gains a lot of its strength from its sense of community. Firstly, why do you think this has happened over the years?
Well, there are many reasons for this. As we've mentioned earlier on, that once you finish one particular facet of karate or completed your competitive days, there are various portfolios you go into. So many people have moved away from their original karate style or association and have decided to open up new associations for monetary gain, obviously, for financial gain. And that is also a huge factor in the segregation, because when you open up a new association, there's lots of work that needs to go into it. I haven't opened up my own association. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I can only guess what it takes, because I am doing many things in my association and I can see the hard work it takes. So I think people have focused into their own association to try and build it, and hence the segregation that you are talking about.
Yeah.
But again, this is just my view. To make a business successful, you have to put in the hours, and you have to make sure that you're there all the time, and you know, it takes a lot of strain out of you. And this is what I, from the outside looking into it, this is what my perception is. But then it has also impacted on the traveling. It has impacted on the province as a whole, because now each association has its head, and the head wants to keep its cattle in one herd, and they want to move together in their own herd, which then segregates and splits the dynamic of the team cohesion that we spoke about. And because the team cohesion and the segregation has happened, the cohesion within the team, in the provincial team, is not as strong as it used to be. Those were one of the things that we used to get right as Western Cape or Western Province back in the earlier years. And it's exactly what we used to do as KSA or Karate South Africa as our team, which we need to bring back again. And hopefully once we are able to do something like this and bring it back to the way it was, things would normalize, and I think maybe everything would improve.
Yeah, definitely. So we have the national championships coming up very soon. Weigh-in is tomorrow, and then kata competition starts on Saturday. Today's Thursday. What are some of your predictions for how this weekend's going to go?
Well, as you know, karate is very, very unpredictable.
Yeah.
There are many external factors. That that impact the results and impact the overall performance of athletes. The under 60 category is actually heating up at the moment. We've got 4 serious contenders in that category. We have Shukri Sedan,
Yes.
from the Western Cape.
Yeah, who used to come from here.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got Jody Williams.
Yes.
We've got Darren Lekay.
Yeah.
And we've got also another up-and-coming youngster, Osman Gur from KZN.
Okay.
So I think those are the 4 potential gold medalists that one of the 4 would definitely come out trumps. And I'm glad to see in 4 of the 3 are very young competitors.
That's very good. It's a good sign.
So exactly, it's a good sign for our future. Consistently in last season and the season before, it was those 3 youngsters that have been in the under 21 category and still are under 21, rotating the gold medal.
Yes.
So which means competition is good, and that only promotes a good future for our under 60 category. In under 67, we've got Adib Phyllis.
Yes.
From the Western Cape. We've got Aiden Jackson, also from the Western Cape. And we've got, is it Alvis Chaka?
Is he competing this
Alvis,
year?
I'm not sure.
He took a break for a while, but he's a very talented competitor.
Yeah, but, in these 2 categories, it seemed to be dominated by Western Cape.
Yes.
Under 60 and under 67.
Yeah.
For the last couple of years, it's been dominated by a Western Cape athlete.
I think another factor in under 67 might be William Ash.
William Ash, yes, definitely. He's from Gauteng. He's a very... I rate him very highly. Sometimes he gets a bit of a raw deal at... sometimes he gets a raw deal at the national championships. He's like I said, a very, very high level competitor. And I think he is probably one of the better fighters in terms of his technical ability and the type of points he scores. It's of an international level.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel he's been done an injustice, but it's all part of the game.
Of course.
But I think he's a definite contender. Then we move over to under 75. I'm not sure who will be there this year. I know probably the highest ranked international athlete that we have in there is Tyron Gray, also of Gauteng.
Yes.
And I think probably the second behind Tyron would be Dylan Jacobs or Dylan Jacobs. From Pretoria. And I'm not sure what other Western Cape athletes are in that division. Ryan Dowries used to be in that category.
Yeah, he's not competing.
He will not be competing this year or this championships. And then we've got another Brandon Sims, who's also quite a good competitor.
Yes.
I think he'll definitely be able to get a medal in the senior category. And then we've got a very good fighter in Troy Fatter, under 84.
Yes.
He's been unbeaten in the 2019 season at KSA.
Yeah, he had some excellent performances.
And I think it's going to be very difficult to beat him in this season. And of course, he's got two other competitors that are on a decent level. We've got Sandile from the Free State, and then Christopher Kotze from Gauteng, from Pretoria. But they're going to have their work cut out for them. If they want to beat Troy, they're going to have to come up with something
without a doubt
very good, extraordinary to take him out, because he's in good shape. He seems to be mentally strong when it comes to his kumite.
Yes.
And then we've got our national team captain in the next category, Morgan Moss. Who I personally think has decided that this will most probably be his last year.
It sounds that way.
I cannot confirm that with any concrete evidence, but I think he's moving on his way out. He's been a fantastic competitor with excellent results for Karate South Africa. But he's got, I think, one or two competitors, a youngster by the name of Franco from Pretoria.
Yes, yeah.
I think Franco has got all the ability to do exceptionally well in that division.
Yes.
I just think he needs some
guidance
in, technically. But his stature and his physique speaks well for that particular category.
It does, yeah.
And then there's another competitor from KZN, Theo, who is probably the second ranked in that division.
He is the second ranked at the moment.
I think Theo is maybe not technically as astute as Franco and Morgan, but I think he has got the heart of a lion and is very aggressive in his fight.
I agree.
So he's always a contender and always in the running for the medals. But that's just the men's category. I don't know too much about the female categories, but there are some excellent females that I can singly point out, like Danielle.
Yes.
She's our most current world WKF bronze medalist.
Yeah, we
did
a
superb fighter
with her a little bit earlier on this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a superb fighter, young fighter. She's still got years ahead of her.
Yes.
I hope she stays injury free and keeps her mind strong and focused.
Yeah.
Because it's not impossible for her to win a gold medal.
Yes.
That's definitely not impossible. We've got Megan Boyance, who's also quite experienced. We've got Alsabi. We've got Danica, which is also quite talented. But
that under 55 division is quite highly contested at the moment.
It's very stacked.
Yeah,
it's very stacked, which again is very good. We've also got a very young girl, Miranda Roots.
Yeah, Miranda's I think she's gonna
cause an upset.
I think she will, yes.
Her frame of mind is very important.
Yeah.
If she can keep it together, then I think she could possibly be our gold medalist in that category.
It's possible.
It's possible. And then we've got the under 50 category with Aisha and
Riasha.
Yes. Which is two dynamite boxes in small packages, but I think it speaks well for us. And we've got Maxine Willemso, who won a bronze medal now in the kata category.
Yes.
It
was arguable that she had a strong case to go through to the final. I believe that. I saw the semi-final, and I think I think she deserved to go through to the final. She had quite a good performance in UFAC.
Yeah, well, she has been quite consistent. in her kata performance at that
Yes.
level.
Yes, yeah. This is her 5th African medal.
But I can, no discredit to Maxine, but South Africa always does well in the female kata. Since from I can remember, since before my time, we had Karen Prinsloo,
Tammy Fry.
we had Tammy Fry, we had Coral Jacobs.
Yes, Coral Jacobs.
And then after Coral, Maxine.
Yes.
So it seems as if every time South Africa has a female kata representative, when the one moves out, the other one just moves into that place. And,
Yes.
our senior male kata category is quite strong as well. I mean, Michael, you have won the Africa Championships, the gold medalist 3 times.
Yes.
You've won a bronze medal maybe 3 times as well.
Two bronze medals, 1 in games and 1 in UFAC, and then 1 silver medal as well.
And a silver medal. So we've always had our kata competitors have actually always done exceptionally well at the Africa Championships. More so than our Kumite competitors actually.
That's interesting.
With Kumite it's sometimes very easy to obtain a medal at Africa because sometimes there are only 3 people in the category, but never in kata. A kata medal is in individual kata. A kata medal is always 1. But in Kumite sometimes it's by default.
Yes.
Even in team kata, many times it's by default. But individual kata, you always have to win your medal. You have to work hard to win it.
Yes.
And you know what it takes. You definitely know what it takes. But you know what? You guys have and our team, over the last couple of years, they've actually done exceptionally well. If you look at the statistics on sports data and see the medal tables, I can't say that the South African team has really underperformed.
Yeah.
Because the results they obtain is purely based on what the individual has put in.
That's an excellent way of putting it. I really like that because a lot of countries have support of so many other structures. And a lot of the time athletes work alone. It's great that we have an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
That's lovely. But like you say, a lot of the time we're very much alone in the ring. I can definitely support that statement.
And myself and my wife, Salamo, we've spoken many occasions, and we look at the results, and we say to ourselves, once we look at the sports data, we say, with the lack, I wouldn't even call it the lack, with getting no or zero support from our national federation, from our sports ministry, from our government, the results that we are getting is exceptional.
That's true, actually. It's true.
Based on the fact that we are getting no support.
Yes.
I'm sure had we gotten maybe 25% more support than we are getting, it would be, we'd see more gold medals than bronze medals.
I'm sure too.
Because really there's no other way to put it. The results that our competitors are getting are super good.
Yes. No, that's true.
And I presume, and I can only say it's the work of the instructor in the dojo.
Yes.
And the work of the athlete by themselves.
Yes. I think that's a safe assumption. I really do. Yeah. No, 100%. And that's why you see a consistency of where athletes come from in the national team.
Absolutely.
It's like these people have a good base and they continue to produce through the years, and you can look through the history book and it doesn't really come from anywhere else in history.
No, absolutely. And it seems to be the stability. And you know what? You've touched on something now that actually has sparked something in my brain. Those people that were part of my generation, many of them have now produced competitors on that level that has or have taken over from where they've left off. And the result that they are getting is consistent. So they're turning over consistent medalists.
That's true.
Whether it's a bronze medalist or a silver medalist or a gold medalist on that particular level.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's generally it's coming out of the same place all the time.
Yes.
It's just a different athlete maybe, or after the completion of one cycle of one athlete and the next one moves in, but it's coming from the same stable, or the same, if it's 4 stables, if I can call it that, or 4 associations. Those associations keep turning over those athletes that are winning the medals on that particular level. But it's difficult for us as an association, or for any other association, to actually get that same success that we get on a continental level at an WKF international level. I don't think we are able to cross that threshold or that barrier yet, because I think there's still that lack of support that we need to cross that threshold to actually make it work.
You think that's the X factor?
I think so, because I mean, you know it and I know it. I've seen training all over the world. I've trained all over the world. So have you.
Yes.
There's no difference in the training.
No.
Very minimal.
Very little, yeah.
But there's a huge difference in the support structure.
100%.
So I think it's a safe assumption to say that if we had a better support structure, I think we would definitely get better results. I don't know. It's just, again, it's my opinion.
Yeah, I think if somebody had to do a study, I would hypothesize that those results would be apparent. Yeah, let me put it that way. So I touched a little bit on how you're involved in national karate at the moment, and it seems pretty minimal at the moment. So I know that you have been on the WKF Referees Commission, and I know that you have been on the UFAC Commission. You still are on the UFAC Commission. And I know that the election for you on your behalf to become a referee means that you are able to fulfill your duty and you can't be removed by political factors.
That's correct. Almost. Unless suspension or expulsion from the federation, then automatically you would be removed.
So I know, because I've been speaking to you quite regularly, Sensei, that a lot of these decisions have happened sort of within the last, let's call it 10 months.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you're going to be involved in the National Federation in a different way than you were last year or the year before? Do you feel like you're taking a little bit of a step in a different direction?
I think so, most definitely. I don't think I'll be as active in terms of refereeing at the national level.
Okay.
I think I would like to, and starting at this national championships, I'd like to sit back and analyze more what is happening and read deeper into making, not assumptions, but analyzing analytically what is going on each tatami. You know, when you're very involved on the floor, it's very difficult to do that.
Yes.
But when you have a set of skills like I do in terms of refereeing, when you are on the outside, you have all the time to go around from floor to floor to check and see what each judge is doing and try and observe how they are judging, and you know. But this is not to help the federation. This is just for myself to help my athletes. Because if you can analyze the judges and the judging panel on the floor, you can have a certain type of strategy.
Of course.
If you have to compete or participate on that floor.
Of course.
So this is more from a coaching point of view.
Okay.
You know, so I think I will take that approach. I'll try and put some more focus on the analyzing of things that normal coaches don't do, and it's very difficult for competitors to do because they have to focus on the task at hand, at performing the kata, you know. So I will be the coach or the coach's eye on the floor, trying to see what's happening, you know, trying to point out certain things to tactically help my competitors that will be participating this weekend.
It's actually very interesting that you bring up this this method or point of view, Sensei. Because something that I saw recently at the Premier League in Dubai is you're very good friends with Mohamed Tato.
Yes.
Mohamed Tato no longer sits on the chair for Egypt. It's no longer his job. So Hanikesh sits for all of the matches. and Mohamed Tato seems to be filling some type of a coordinator role. So what happened was one of the matches, I don't remember who the fight was against. I think it might have been the semi-final with Tarek, the over 84 guy. And before the fight was over, because Mohamed Tato was like this overseer, he was able to put in a protest. So Hani Keshta was sitting on the chair still, and he continued to coach the match while Mohamed Tato submitted
Was doing the protest.
the protest, which I think is a brilliant system, and it sounds very similar to what you want to be doing. So I think it's actually the way to go in the future. You need to have some type of a coordinator and somebody to take a step back and say, okay, what's the best way to tackle this? What's the best way to tackle
You
this?
see, and that brings us back to a support structure.
It does.
And that is all part of the support structure that is unseen and maybe unknown in South Africa.
Yes.
Because there are lots of dynamics outside of just sitting on the chair,
Yes.
being on the tatami,
Yes.
things that have to happen around, in and around, and even before the match. And,
Yes.
it's there's lots of jobs that can be done
That's true.
and that are all important.
Yes.
Sitting on the chair is not the only important job.
That's true. That's true. It's just the most direct line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think just the last thought for the podcast. What do you think? What do you think is some of the first things that we can do? I mean, starting from this weekend, it's a great weekend to start because we're going to be all gathered together, taking steps to what the future should be. I mean, we know that Dakar is going to hold the Youth Olympics in 2022. We don't know what is going to happen with the Olympic selection. It's unclear because there's a lot of ambiguous pieces in the selection criteria for 2020 Olympics, and we don't even know if 2020 Olympics is going to happen. We have the World Championships in Dubai this upcoming year. So where do you think the focus should be coming up for the next couple of international competitions from a KSA perspective?
Well, to be honest with you, Michael, the Olympics would be... It's too late for KSA to focus on the Olympics, to be quite honest.
The senior ones.
The senior 2020 Olympics.
Agreed.
The focus should have been there 4 years ago.
Mm.
Knowing that it was a high possibility that we would be able to go. And they should have identified our athletes then. But you know what? Once again, you had to do it on your own. And I'm not going to harp on that. But to try and correct the situation, 2022 is 2 years away from now. So I think for our seniors, we need to focus on the World Championships, which is in Dubai. It's March. The World Championships is in October or November. And I think we need to identify our team as quickly as Monday after the national championships, get them training in camps as maybe often as possible, maybe once a month, and whether it has to rotate from Cape Town, Durban, Mpumalanga, wherever, Johannesburg, get them getting together once a month, at least for a weekend, Monday, Friday to Sunday, and don't deviate from that team. Bring squad players in so that we can have a bigger squad and keep the interaction going so that if there's an injury occurs, that one can slot in automatically without, coming in at the late stage. And I also think that we have to focus on the 2022 Youth Olympics because I've noticed that our competitors at the youth age are very competitive. It's just when they become more professional, when it gets towards the under 21 and senior categories, where we can actually see a big gap starting to form between Karate South Africa players and let's call it the European or the professional countries. So if we invest in our youth possible candidates, which we can identify easily, we can get a squad of our athletes that will fall into that 16, 17-year-old category, because that is the age for the Olympics. It was for Buenos Aires, I think it was 2016 or 2017, the first Youth Olympics, and it will be the same age category for Dakar 2022. So I think that should be our, not our long-term goal, but our mid-term goal, because a 2-year cycle is very quick.
It is very quick.
So I think that should be our focus now.
Okay. Excellent. I've enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much.
It's
Sensei.
been a pleasure, Michael.
Yes, yeah.
We should do another podcast maybe at the championships during the course of the Kumite championships.
Let's do that.
And we can almost do live commentary.
That would be excellent. That would be excellent.
Of course, it won't go live at the championships, but we
Yeah.
could commentary or comment on a particular fight or a particular kata performance after you've competed.
Yeah, that would be great.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Sensei.
I'm sure you'll bring home the gold.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you, Sensei.
But till we meet
Inshallah.
again, hopefully it will be on Saturday at the kata championships, and
Yes.
then Sunday during the Kumite championships.
Yes, excellent. Thanks, Sensei.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.